Nothing wrong
We
with a little
are
splash.
live. How about you, everybody? Welcome into this week's edition of the Auburn Live call-in show. I'm your host, Jeffrey Lee, Senior Recruiting Editor for Auburn Live on 3. And today is Sunday, January the 15th, 2023. We are going to get to the phone lines in a minute, but first I am joined, as I always am, by my cohorts, co-workers, and co-host. How about that?
Hey, I
Mr.
like it.
Jhead, Mr. Cole Pinkston, Mr. Keith Niebuhr. How about you, fellas?
How about you, brother?
I look purple, don't I?
Slightly, you know what? Maybe a little blue. We've had so much recruiting news lately. Maybe Jay Lee's getting under the weather here some.
You know, I watched Willy Wonka the other day, and you know where they eat too much blue stuff and they turn into a
Little
blueberry.
little Oompa Loompa
There
action.
you go. There you go.
Well, give me Cole. Where did Cole go?
I think
Probably
another
the-
hurricane hit,
Yeah.
man. Who knows?
Mother Nature strikes again. Hey, fellas, we have seen since our last call-in show a couple of commitments off the top of my head. Austin Keys on Saturday, the transfer linebacker from Ole Miss, came in for an official visit on Friday before he ever left. He committed. Big commitment at a big position of need. Jay had talked to us about Austin Keys.
Prototype middle linebacker. Cole had a fantastic breakdown on him. He's been used more as kind of a free blitzer, somebody that's been able to get downhill. He doesn't really have to diagnose at this point, but he was also used as a backup, so he's used as a specialty some. But he's a guy that is an able body in the middle that can take on guards, tackles, spill things back inside, play downhill with physicality, and really be that Mike linebacker that we didn't have last year. Now, he's going to have to get his eyes in the right spot. He's going to have to be coached up a little bit, but the physical capability is there to be that thumper that we sorely missed last year. And at that, I'm going to kind of punt it to Cole. I think he's got a really great read on that situation as well.
Yeah, you're talking about Austin Keys, right? My audio went out for a second.
Yep.
Yeah, man, I love Austin Keys. Just to be a little bit controversial, I know Nick Jackson visited from Virginia. He has better stats. A bunch of tackles last year. I like Austin Keys better. I just like him better as a football player, as a linebacker, more physical. I got a few clips I'll put up tomorrow of him sort of running through blocks against offensive linemen. And that's why they use him on the edge and things of that nature as a blitzer. So, to me, the biggest problem with Auburn's linebackers lately has been not stats, but physicality. They got plenty of stats. That's not what you want. You got to have some physicality. You got to be able to, feel the run lanes and be out in coverage as well. That's today's linebacker, and this guy's got both.
And I would tell you this, Cole. One thing that struck me when you watched his tape, when he sticks you, you're going the other way, okay? So much of what happened with Auburn's linebacker core this year is we were catching guys. We weren't really attacking the line of scrimmage. It was more catching them about 3-4 yards down the field, you know what I mean? And they're turning what could be a 3 or a 2 yard gain into a 4 or a 5 yard gain. So I love the way he plays downhill. I think he's going to fit really well into a Ron Roberts defense. I mean, you're spot on with your analysis.
Perfect. Hey, listen, we'll get to the call lines in just a moment. I want to run down what we've got right now. Auburn has 12 transfers committed, signed, presumably enrolled this week in classes. The classes are underway, but they'll get started back Tuesday. 21 high school junior college commitments. The class currently ranked 16th. But that is, what am I hearing?
Probably your YouTube.
I don't have it. Somebody else does. Right now, the number 2 overall transfer portal class behind UCLA. I don't think anybody's going to be catching UCLA, regardless of what happens in the future for Auburn. But the transfer portal class, as far as Auburn concerned, I don't know. Besides a quarterback, everything else has been addressed except for edge, maybe.
It's been addressed, just probably not to the degree that we would have liked to have been seen so far. You've got one and a good one in McAllister. Okay, he's a physical run setter on the edge, but Elijah does not answer the questions as a pure pass rusher as far as that's concerned. A guy that's got proven stats on the outside that can create that pressure. So I think that's the only thing, like you said, Jay Lee, if we can get a pass rusher, a guy that's shown that he can do it at a high level, that would be the only other thing that you'd want to add on the defensive side of the ball.
Who else have we seen in the last week since we did this before? I'm going to go down the transfers. Justin Rogers. There you go. Yeah. Big defensive lineman from Kentucky, former top 50 overall player, according to the On3 consensus, visited Auburn last weekend. No, we talked about him, didn't he?
We did. We talked about his commitment on the Thursday show. Big nonetheless.
Okay.
Literally and figuratively, having a nose tackle of his pedigree, you know what I mean? We needed it.
I'll tell you who it was, Jhead. It was Avery Jones. They brought him in Sunday night while we were doing last week's show. Brought him in for a late visit. Keith, you were all over this thing, man. Or at least you got the details. Yeah, I was going to say after the fact.
Yeah.
But, I left out of the facility, 4 or 5 o'clock that night, and I'm guessing, he brought him in later for like a 3 or 4 hour trip. Done deal next day. I'd never heard of the guy.
Yeah, I mean, he started 3 years at East Carolina. Initially signed with North Carolina out of high school, I think as a 4-star recruit. Ended up at East Carolina, respectable program. Every year they beat somebody pretty good. And 3-year starter, I think 1 year at guard, 2 at center. And so, again, if you're Auburn, you could have been content. You had Tate Johnson coming back. You had people behind him. Yeah, you had bodies coming back, but you decided as a staff that, no, that's not good enough. The room as a whole, the position needs to get better. The room needs to get better. The offense needs to get better. The entire roster needs to get better. And so that was a big one because, he had been committed to Illinois since December 12th, entered the portal on December 2nd, 10 days later, committed to Illinois, which, just won eight games, I think, kind of an up-and-coming program in the Big Ten under Brett Bielema. And the thing with him is Bielema's had great success in that conference especially with offensive linemen. So significant flip. I mean, the kid just couldn't pit. We're talking about Avery Jones. He just couldn't pass up a chance playing the SEC. When you look at the commitment list of transfers so far, of the 12, I think 9 are ranked 21st or better at their respective positions in the on-3 transfer portal rankings. And that guy who's 21st is Dylan Wade, who some people on the Auburn staff apparently think he might be the best of all the transfers that they've picked up. And then another one that's not in the top 20, top 21 is Austin Keys, who mysteriously is only ranked like 77th among linebackers, which is, I think, to all of us a little bit surprising. And, we're not historic sunshine pumpers. It's just, it's a little surprising given his ability and what he's produced on the field. But again, it's a group with quantity. It's a group with quality. Of those 12, there could be 8 or 9 starters. I mean, that's a reshaping of an entire team, really,
I agree. And as far as it pertains to Keys, to me, it was judging the competition that you were recruiting against. Ole Miss didn't want to lose him. In fact,
right.
Kiffin and his position coach, I believe, and/or maybe it was the wide receiver coach that's heavily connected in the state of Mississippi, flew to his home to convince him not to transfer. In addition to that, Jimbo Fisher and Texas A&M heavily pursued Austin Keys. His former defensive coordinator is there at Texas A&M. He knows what the kid is fully capable of. When you're competing against 2 SEC West schools for a kid's signature, that tells me he's probably better than the 77th ranked player at his position in the portal. But look, rankings are subjective. Does he meet the criteria for what Auburn wants in the linebacker room? I believe that he does. I don't think they would have pursued him as vigorously as they have to this point if he didn't.
Yes. Hey, last night, 2024 quarterback Adrian Posse. I don't even know which high school he is right now. He's been at so many, and that's not a knock on. I just don't. Was it Columbus, Keith?
No, that was his previous high school. He's at Mater Academy. At last check, Mater Academy in Hialeah, which is just north of Miami.
Okay, so he was a Harsin guy. He was a Eric Keystall guy, and decommitted last night. Keith, we kind of knew this was coming.
Yeah, so he committed during Big Cat weekend. Adrian Posse, 4-star quarterback who had great success at the 7-on-7 level, was at Miami Pace as I think, sophomore, and then transferred to Miami Columbus and then left Columbus for Mater Academy. But, Auburn identified him, the previous staff, and he had other options. I mean, I think Notre Dame was a school that was after us. People always say, well, who did you beat? Did this guy have any other options? He had other options. Now, that was before his junior season when he transferred, didn't play much, and I don't know whether that's going to hurt his stock or not, but the ability's there. But he's a pure pro-style quarterback. I mean, Cole and Jhead can get into the minutia here, the details, but he's not necessarily built for what Hugh Freeze wants. So on Friday, Jeffrey and I got kind of tipped off that it was probably headed down this road of a parting of the ways, we call it, and we do that so we don't take, not to make a kid look bad, and also not to make a program look bad. These things go both ways. Mutual parting. I think it was ultimately Auburn's direction that led to this. But, we had noticed that, I talked to his father the other day, and he said they hadn't heard from the new staff. Well, that's a red flag right there. That's something that catches all of our, we've been doing this. That's something that raises our eyebrows. The second thing was on the first day, and Jeffrey pointed this out on our message boards, the first day that Hugh Freeze could get out in January to recruit, his very first visit, to our knowledge, was to Little Rock Christian Academy, and that was to see Walker White, the 2024 quarterback, 4-star kid who is visiting Auburn tomorrow on Monday. And so that was significant too. So you start putting these things together. We're reading the tea leaves, and we had an idea. And then obviously we got some further sourcing that led us to believe that this was going to happen. And then he did back off his commitment last night. But I don't think, it's a terrible thing for either side, because if it's not a fit, it's not a fit, right?
Right.
Now, I know Adrian loved Auburn and loved the community, the fans, the players, all that stuff. But it became obvious pretty early on as Auburn was putting out new QB offers. Now, the one thing would be, could they take 2 in 2024? And sure, they could. That's going to depend on who's back, and that's kind of an unknown variable at this time. But the fact of the matter is they weren't really communicating with Posse, and they were communicating with other quarterbacks. I mean, we're not geniuses, but we know how to read tea leaves. So that leaves Auburn with one 2024 commitment, and that's the 4-star cornerback from Moody, Alabama, Amon Lane. He's going to be at Auburn on the 28th of this month. So
Good.
3 guys, at least we know of, have come out publicly and said they'll be in Auburn tomorrow. Walker White. Well, he hasn't said publicly. Keith, I think he told you that, right?
He told me that, yeah, and I think he might have told somebody else too. But
Malachi Tolliver, Cartersville, I believe, Georgia, big offensive tackle, 2024 class is coming in. Cole, Auburn has offered him, but maybe not this new staff. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, some kids don't tweet, everything out like some do, but
Sure.
as far to our knowledge, he has not been reoffered. Maybe that's something that could happen while he's on campus. The previous staff liked him. I think Will Friend is the one that offered him. So, if they're going to have him over, they like him.
TK Norman, Tristan Norman is another guy who is scheduled to come in this weekend or tomorrow. Gosh, I don't even know what my days are now. So you'll start seeing some juniors kind of building up to that junior day of January 28th start coming in when they can. Monday's a holiday, MLK Day. Schools are out, so an opportunity for these guys to get on campus if they're able to make it. Yo, Malcolm wants to know any pass rusher in the transfer portal besides Elijah McAllister. None that I know of.
Right. Now, what I would say is that we took a pretty dynamic edge rusher last year and tried to convert him into a linebacker. Maybe with the added depth at linebacker, he gets a look at edge rusher to kind of supplement your room moving into, the 2023 season. Gordon Powell, Cole saw it firsthand. I saw it on tape. Absolutely dominated a 5-star offensive tackle from IMG last year and wreaked havoc in that game. I think he's a natural pass rusher. I think he's somebody that could potentially move out to that position to supplement your needs some. But let's see what the spring portal kind of generates, because unfortunately we have not to this point had any luck with a pass rusher outside of Elijah McAllister.
I'll tell you what, just my opinion on this, and a guy like Rondell Bothroyd was somebody you would consider that one a miss. That was a big miss there. You had to get a guy like that. And there are some other guys out there, but it just seems like they got some young guys that they're pretty comfortable with, like Keldrick Falk. Even Deron Reed could help you out there a little bit with his playing style. See what Dylan Brooks does. Something tells me in my gut that they're just going to roll with those guys. I just don't see a whole lot of. You never know. Somebody could pop up, but right now we don't see a lot of options.
Well, we've got the 15-day portal window after spring practice, right? And so, we keep mentioning so many kids, so many more guys are probably going to enter the portal at that point. I don't know if it's going to be a tidal wave like it was in December, but if you've got a new coach, if you're at Baylor. Baylor's got a new DC because their former DC is now at Auburn. And you go through spring practice and you're just not meshing with the new guy and, whatever. So there's always that possibility. It's not even a possibility. It's a probability that there's going to be a lot of quality players at these premium positions. But again, that is Cole and Jhead and Jeffrey. Edge rusher is a premium position. It's like offensive tackle. It's like quarterback, and it's like cornerback. When the elite guys come out, or defensive tackle too. When the elite guys come out, when the elite guys come out, it's not easy. Now, again, if you're Auburn, though, you've filled so many needs the past month that next portal window, I think you're going to be able to really focus on just a couple of guys, and they really ought to be able to go all out on those guys. And I think they're going to. I mean, look at the track record so far. I think they've earned some. I don't know what the word is. It's not so much a leap of faith. We're already seeing it, right? So, in other words, I think they've proven that they're going to be okay in the portal. Again, you want to see them get a quarterback and as well, but so far so good.
Speaking of quarterbacks, F. Scott Fitzbeagle.
That's a good
wants to know, what does Hugh Freeze want in a quarterback? Ability to run and pass, I think more or less. Lead the team, score points. But does it matter, Jhead? I mean, does he have? Is he set on this type of quarterback? I mean, we've seen him have success with your pro style guys. We've seen him have success with Malik Willis, who is anything but a pro style guy.
Right. To me, and you're right, Jay Lee. He has retrofit his offense to fit the quarterback that he's got, and he's always placated to what their potential is and what they do best. But to me, in his opening press conference, I do believe that he talked a little bit about what he wants in a quarterback, and the things that he touched on were mental toughness, accuracy, the ability to extend plays. And you can do that in a multitude of ways, whether it's pocket mobility, whether it's the ability to break the pocket like Malik Willis. There are various ways to extend plays. You don't always have to do that with your feet. Sometimes you can do that with your mind. So those were the three criteria that I saw that he listed that he wants. I think they're being very choosy with the quarterback right now. I think they like Holden Gerner. I think they like Robbie Ashford. They obviously like the young man that they brought in from Lipscomb.
Henry.
And Hank Brown. They've got a high grade on him. So I'm not exactly sure who they're going to target. Maybe Walker Howard will make his way on campus. Who knows? But as of right now, it's somebody that fits those attributes that probably can give you a proven arm in that room. But other than that, I don't really know. Cole,
well, look at the two guys that we know he highly coveted in the transfer portal. We know he wanted Devin Leary. Yes. We know he wanted Grayson McCall.
Yes. Those
guys aren't any more of a dual threat. I don't know. You guys watch more film of them, but I mean, if you're looking at, if these are my two guys, what do you deduct from looking at these two guys and saying, well, okay, if those are his top two targets, this is the type of quarterback he's looking for, at least right now?
Game managers. To me, they're both game managers in different ways.
Not a slight to them.
Well, look, everybody wants to look at the attributes. Does he run well? I really don't think it matters to Freeze or Montgomery, maybe even Ken Austin. I think they want a guy who they can mold the way that they coach things. This is a guy that listens to what I do. He will apply it on the field. That's why they like Hank Brown, because they know he's that kind of guy. And they think they can make Robbie Ashford that way. And let's hope they can, because they've done a good job with quarterbacks everywhere, and he needs some help, throwing the football. So I just think a guy that is coachable goes above the ability to run or pass. I think that is number one. You got to have that quality for these guys.
I do think you have to have a baseline arm talent. I mean, look,
sure,
there's a reason they haven't moved on Spencer Sanders for one reason or another.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's his arm, whether it's, something to do with other intangibles that I'm unaware of. There's a reason they haven't moved on another quarterback other than the two that we talked about that they heavily pursued in Devin Leary and the young man from Coastal Carolina. I do think that they like to have some mobility to their quarterback. Like I said, the ability to extend plays, but I don't think they have to be a Malik Willis by any means. You don't have to be an absolute game breaker, when you break the pocket, but you do have to be a smart runner because they do utilize the zone read and some other concepts to put the quarterback, to utilize the quarterback so that when you put the quarterback in the run game, it takes a defender out of the box. Somebody else you have to account for, and they do that to kind of spread the field. So I think they want some mobility, but it doesn't have to be like game-changing, like Nick Marshall type speed or elusiveness.
Hey, fellas, somebody break the seal for us, man. Give us a call, 701-779-9585. Looking at you, LG.
Yeah, where's he at?
Swayback wants to know, will the new offense prepare O-line, receivers, and quarterbacks for the pros? Track record says yes.
Hugh Freeze has put all three of those in the NFL. I mean, look no further than Chad Kelly, Malik Willis when you're talking about quarterbacks, receivers, take your pick. Laquan Treadwell, multiple others.
Well, hell, he just had Malik Willis drafted, and he might be the only coach or one of the few coaches in America with the ability to take a 5'11", whatever he was. I'm sure he was taller than that.
6'1", I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm serious. 6'1".
All right, 6'1" with cleats on.
Yeah, there you go.
Take a 6'1" wide receiver. Of course, quarterback Malik. He always had a cannon, anyways, right?
Yeah.
He was like a little Nick Marshall.
Guys like him, guys like Robbie Ashford, you can see it. I mean, people get excited because of what they can see is capable from these guys. It's just it takes the right quarterback coach, it takes the right offense to get them going the way they should. And a guy like Spencer Sanders, who they're obviously just everybody's not just gung ho over him for whatever reason, his touchdown to interception ratio is not good. Throws a lot of interceptions. That's not a good game manager. He doesn't take care of things.
Good point.
That's number one. And really, when you're talking about guys going pro, and it goes back to the quarterback question, what kind of guy does he like? He likes a guy that takes control of things so he can run what he wants to run. Everything. Everything's on the table. You're not limiting me here. I can do this. I can do everything I want to do.
Right on. Hey, a little basketball recruiting news tonight. Ace Bailey, the 5-star guy from McEachern in Powder Springs, Georgia, committed to Rutgers over Auburn, Kentucky. It was a shock throughout the basketball recruiting world, understandably so, when anybody from Atlanta chooses Rutgers over Auburn and Kentucky. Obviously, there were some connections there with the Kentucky staff, his family members. Excuse me. But still, that's a big one. That's a big L for Auburn, no doubt about it. No sugarcoating that. And that's really all I've got, man. I know Auburn was just as surprised as everybody else when they learned that he was committed to Rutgers. They knew that Rutgers was for real. They never thought it was a slam dunk, never considered him a silent commit, and knew it was going to be. They were optimistic, but it was cautiously. So we'll see how Auburn rolls with that. What the reaction will be to that Ace Bailey. I mean, they're already in on a bunch of other 2024 guys, but it just seemed like he was right there for the taking at at McEachern. Played for AOT, Athletes of Tomorrow, the AAU team that Sharif Cooper and all the guys from McEachern played. So big hit right there. Zach, you got us a seal breaker?
We do. 1510. You're live. Who we talking to? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Henderson Hardrick calling from Shelbyville, Tennessee.
Shelbyville.
All right.
Yeah, man.
What's on your mind tonight, big dog?
Well, I know a lot of us Auburn fans don't be worried about getting a quarterback, but to be honest, I'm thinking Holden Grenner is going to be a surprise.
The dark horse.
Okay. All right.
What do you like? What do you like about him?
I think he can make the plays that Hugh Freeze is wanting to happen. I think he can make those plays. I just don't think the other staff properly had him ready.
I think back to his first play they put him in. Do you remember that, Keith?
No, I don't.
Does anybody remember that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
I do.
Listen, I've always been a fan of Holden since high school. Just watching him, he's my kind of quarterback. Like to me, he's old school.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What you itching to say, Keith?
Well, again, we talked about this last Friday. This is a great call, by the way. Nobody's talking about Holden Gurner. everybody's talking about Robbie Ashford and then potential transfers, Grayson McCall, Spencer Sanders, whoever else is out there, right? Devin Leary and whoever might be going in the portal down the road. But Holden Geriner, they say that's from that end of that first season to the start of the second season, guys make some tremendous leaps. The guys that are going to make it, the guys that are going to truly be good quarterbacks, good players, that's when they really make that big step forward, right? And so that's why I've been saying for weeks, I didn't think it was necessary that Auburn got a transfer quarterback in for the spring. Because if you bring somebody in later on, they're going to be a veteran. They're going to know how to play the game. They're going to be able to get on the same page with the coaches, the receivers, the terminology, all that stuff. To me, it was more important that this staff had a chance to evaluate Holden Geriner and Robbie Ashford with the majority of prominent snaps, which is to say snaps with first and second stringers. And so now they're going to get unless something happens in the next few days at the quarterback position, always possible, by the way. But if they don't pick up somebody, then they're going to really have a chance to dissect everything Holden Geriner and Robbie Ashford can do. But we're talking about Geriner here. And they might like what they see, quite frankly. Holden Geriner was a guy that had a very high TD to interception ratio in high school. Now, high school statistics don't always mean a whole hell of a lot. There's other variables. Who did you play? Who's blocking for you? Who you throwing to? All that stuff. But he's a high IQ guy. We know he graduated with honors. He graduated early, super smart kid. Not to say that Robbie's not, because, by the way, Robbie is really smart. But if anybody could make a pretty big leap from year one to year two, maybe it's Holden. And they're going to get a very good look at it. I mean, they're going to know in a couple of months whether he's going to be ready or not. And they may say after spring practice, maybe they don't need to go get anybody. I don't think that's going to be the case, but maybe that's what there's two guys. Maybe they're both capable. We'll see. But Holden Geriner's got a lot of ability. We'll have to see what he does in the spring.
That was one of the drawbacks. Hey, great call there, my man from Shelbyville.
Yes.
That was one of the things, Walker Howard entered the portal. He's a freshman, a transferring freshman quarterback from LSU. And I thought, is the need there for another freshman?
Yeah.
Is that what they really need in the transfer portal?
I don't think so, but it goes back to a statement that I've heard you make, Jeffrey, in that if it upgrades the room, they're going to take the player. And while it's not an ideal fit, and probably it would potentially adversely affect you with Holden, because if you're bringing in somebody in the same class, we all know how that goes as far as rubbing egos is concerned.
Yeah.
Both Elite 11 finalists, by the way.
Correct. I don't know how that situation would play itself out, but if they think Walker Howard upgrades the room, I think they'll probably make the move.
Good point. Zach, keep us rolling.
1253. You're live. Who we talking to? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Bob from Houston, Texas.
What's up, Bob from Houston, Texas? What's on your mind tonight, Bob?
You guys have probably talked about this before, but in my 35 plus years since I left Auburn, I have never seen where we brought in 30 some odd new, aside from the 25 limit, we used to bring in 15 to 20 new kids, and that was a great year.
Mm-hmm.
Here we're bringing in 30 some odd, 35 new kids. My question is, how the hell are we doing this now? And we've never done this before. And why? Why couldn't we do this before?
Jhead, the new rule this year, I think Keith has touched on this earlier, Bob, but not in this show. You haven't missed anything in the show pertaining to that, but there was a rule passed this year that you could take as many as you wanted in a class as long as you stayed under the 85 scholarship limit overall. So all with attrition, with guys leaving, the transfer portal, there's a lot of spots Auburn needed to fill and would not have been able to had there been a limit on a class size limit. With this rule now, and is it just a 1 year rule?
No, it's a 2 year rule. So
rule.
It's this year and next. You get to play underneath the 85.
And Bob, I think it has to go back to the COVID, right? I think it was a lot of there was so much moving and shaking with that COVID year, that super senior year, and now you've got people staying for their 6th year, and you can't bring in these guys because you got these guys and you got these guys leaving. I think it was just a temporary fix, or at least they're hoping so, the NCAA. So this year, Bob, and next year, the 2023 and 2024 classes, you can sign as many as you want as long as you're under that 85 scholarship limit overall.
let me ask you this: how the heck is Freeze doing such a great job in attracting talent, quality and quantity, and Gus was never able to do that. Chiz was never able to do that. Tuberville was never able to do that. You can go back, aside from Pat Dye, maybe it never happened before.
Well,
I don't know. Chiz and them, they had some damn classes, Bob.
yeah, those first 2 or 3 classes.
That 2010 class?
Yeah.
No,
When you had Mike Dyer.
I will say this, Bob. I will say this. I expect Hugh Freeze with a full cycle, the 2024 class, and maybe my expectations are too high, Keith. You bring me back to earth if I am. I expect Hugh Freeze and staff with the NIL, the On to Victory, I expect their classes to rival Gene Chizik and those guys. Is that
Gus, yeah, I can see that.
and Gus wasn't no slouch. Yeah, right.
No.
Gus
Top
had
10
multiple
classes.
top. I mean, Gus went like 4 or 5 straight years before he had a class that wasn't in the top 10. Now that doesn't mean everybody always pans out, but I mean, they were getting.
You had Calvin Ashley. You had Byron Coward.
And I will say, were Gus's shortcomings when he had shortcomings in recruiting quarterback position. He went out and got Jarrett Stidham. Offensive line shortcomings. He went out and got Casey Dunn, Jack Driscoll, Darius. Oh gosh, Darius James.
Yeah.
Austin Golson. So
Damn, I forgot all about those guys.
Yeah.
It's in terms of transfers, nobody's taken this many transfers before. But I see your point, but I do think that I wasn't there for Chizik, but Gus and Chizik did have some pretty stout classes. I mean, there were some
I think I know what
star guys. I mean, Gus signed 8 5-stars while he was at Auburn. I mean, that's not bad.
Cole, you go ahead and jump in, and I got something for this, man.
I think I know what Bob's saying. It's like, I mean, even to us, it's almost like every other day there's a new commitment. There's a new guy signing with Auburn. There's a new guy in the fold.
Exactly.
I get that. It's just part of, I think, the rule that's going on right now. You got to fill all these numbers, and if you're in a situation to fill numbers, Auburn is the place right now because, my goodness, they were so down on numbers when Hugh Freeze took over. I mean, 40s, 50s. That's what they were at in scholarships. Now you got to try to build that up to an 85-man roster as fast as you can.
Mm-hmm.
Jhead, jump in here, Bob. I will make my one little thing. I've said this before, man. You're talking about flipping almost half the roster.
Yeah.
In this one class, Bob, you mentioned 35. I think the number is actually 33 right now. Wouldn't be surprised if it's pushing 40 by the time the summer rolls around. As far as bringing in new guys, 7 more guys doesn't seem out of this world. Crazy to think Auburn brings in 7 more guys before fall. Now you're talking about flipping 40 of the 85.
Then you got to wonder about, the chemistry and team aspect of.
Absolutely.
Well, for years, coaches have preached chemistry and all this stuff, and I always thought, I don't know, because just a few years ago we started seeing more transfers, not like now, but we started seeing more and more, and it didn't seem to be hurting anybody, right? I mean, you know what I mean? So I don't know. I mean, these are adults now. They're adults. They're getting paid, right? They're getting paid through NIL. They have a business-like approach. I mean, we think of them as being kids and all, but we're around them a lot, and these guys are they have a professional attitude. So I think chemistry is now. There's 2 different kinds of chemistry. Hey, does everybody get along, or how do they mesh on the field? So those are the 2. So getting along, I thought that was always guys do their own thing. They hang out with their own.
Overrated.
Bo Nix wasn't hanging out with the team, but he was fine on Saturdays. You know what I mean? So, that part's overrated. But chemistry on the field, that takes time, especially on the offensive line. At quarterback and receivers, I get it, but they can go out and throw any day of the week without the coaches around, right? And they do. We'll see them in the summertime. We'll see them going in the QB. Jarrett Stidham and the receivers would be in there throwing all day. So you see that. D-line, you're kind of an individual person working together with 3 other people. But the O-line, there's a reason why they hold hands a lot. They're linked, right, Cole? The defensive line's goal is to break the link on the offensive line. But the O-lineman, to me, that is where you would need where chemistry on the field is more important than anywhere else. Anywhere else. I do believe that. Cole, you're a former coach. You tell me.
No, you're right. You're all over it. But that's why I put a post on our board at Auburn Live the other day. And I'll say this real quick and we'll move on. But the transfer portal, you don't want to live out of the transfer portal. Let's not get that twisted, okay? You're in a situation right now where you don't have a choice because of your roster numbers. This is where Auburn is at right now. And it's a place Auburn shouldn't be, okay?
Yep.
I'm just going to be completely honest about that. And Hugh Freeze knew that going in. He knew what the circumstances were, and he knew what he had to do.
Yep.
If you're 3 or 4 years down the road and you're still living out of the transfer portal, something's not adding.
You're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
Hey,
Lane
Bob.
Kiffin talking to you.
Yeah. Hey,
living out of it, not just getting a few players here and there.
Well,
Bob,
Jeffrey,
we
Okay.
go ahead.
Thank you, gentlemen.
hey, appreciate you, Bob. Good call.
No, Jeffrey,
Obviously.
Jeffrey and I have talked about this a lot. Year one of the transfer right now for Auburn is survival in the transfer portal. Survival and elevate a little bit. Year two is more taking the program. Let's take it to that next level. Year three should be, because there's a lot of one-year guys. Jhead, you've mentioned it, which means they're going to have to replace a lot of these guys next year with even more portal guys. But year three, you hope, would be more like, okay, guys, receiver room isn't great. Isn't where it needs to be if we're going to win 10, 11, 12 games. Let's go find one stud. Think more like that. That's where you want it.
Right now, your team building, you want to inch ever closer to being a program building. You want to be program. And Hugh Freeze said that in his opening press conference. I've quoted him anytime I've needed some text. But, he said, in year one, we're going to have to go to the transfer portal heavy. Zach, keep us going, big dog.
6848. You're live. Who we talking to? Where are you calling from?
Hey, what's up, man? This is Bryce from Beulah.
What's
All right,
up, Bryce?
There you are, big dog.
I'm here, man. Yeah, I didn't get a chance to kind of listen to the beginning of the show, so if it's already been talked about, my apologies. But
I know where you live, Bryce.
Signing day coming up and all that. But who's a couple of guys, or who's somebody just specifically in state that you guys are, it's got to be a must get for this staff?
In this class, Bryce?
4 or 5 of the top recruits already in the state are already committed to our rivals. So,
sure.
Who's a guy that we got to get, in y'all's opinion?
2024. Great stuff, Bryce. 2024, Cole, who you got?
I really like the Perry Thompson guy, and I know he's committed to Alabama. He was on campus. He was on campus this weekend. Top 100 guy from Foley, wide receiver. I think he's a must-get kind of guy. And he's committed to Alabama right now. But look, he seemed to really hit it off with Marcus Davis. We'll see going forward how that goes. But that's a guy that really you need to try to get in the fold.
I got one.
Who you got, Jhead?
Jeremiah Beeman, pass rusher, Birmingham, Alabama. Parker. You want to make a statement, plant a flag in Birmingham, Alabama, in Tuscaloosa's backyard. And not only plant a flag, but with a quality player of Jeremiah Beeman's capability. To me, he's the biggest get on the board if you're trying to make a statement right now beyond the player that Cole just mentioned. I really love this kid's tape and what he's capable of being.
Yeah, that would be my number one too. And I would say a guy like Bradley Shaw, the linebacker at Hoover. I think Cadillac Williams was at Hoover on Friday, a linebacker in-state guy. And I would say, the other thing is the board – the in-state board is going to – where it is right now for Auburn and Alabama too, might be different after the May evaluation period when they go out and see these guys in person. So I wouldn't get too caught up in the rankings just yet with in-state kids because things are going to change. There's going to be a 6'7" tight end out there offered in the spring by Tennessee, and then Auburn and Alabama are going to jump. I mean, things are going to change, but Beeman to me would be number one because – that's where Auburn's really got. I mean, Auburn's not going to have a problem attracting DBs. We know that, right? We've seen it.
Lord, no.
Deep receivers. I think Auburn's headed in the right direction. Running backs, as long as Cadillac's there, you think they're going to get some guys. But it's quarterback, O-line, D-line, just as in the transfer portal. That's what I'm looking for here. That's exactly what I'm looking for.
I got one for you. Mine, Bryce, is Jamarian Fat Burnett, running back from Andalusia, 6'1", 210 pounds. Everybody wants the kid, and I just love stacking big dogs at running back. And he got that ass. You know what I mean? He's got it,
brother.
He Hugh Freeze likes them ankles. I like that. Well, hold on.
Well, I guess what we don't know, we don't really know what this staff thinks of him, right? We don't know yet. And I don't know. He has not tweeted out that he's been reoffered. Now,
okay.
Now, that doesn't mean he hasn't been. He did not play in the state championship game. I know he was I think he was injured.
Yeah, he was.
I think I will say this, that people, a great kid, by the way, I love interviewing him. I think people want to see him get in a little bit better physical shape.
Okay.
Sure.
But yeah, that's a guy. I mean, these are in-state guys. I mean, they've got to – what we saw the last 2 years in-state was just –
abysmal. You've got to get your share starting in 2024, no doubt about it. James Moe, we appreciate you. I'm sorry, Keith.
No, I was saying, Jeffrey, you're absolutely right. And even if guys aren't ranked that high in-state always, some years there are, some guys this last year there were. The state of Alabama is – I mean, you look at rosters all across the Southeast. I mean, Clemson took a running back out of Alabama that, I mean, there are guys playing for major Power Fives all across the country from the state of Alabama that are going to be playing in the NFL that were three-star guys. So you don't need to limit yourself to just those top 15 guys either.
Truth to power on that, Keith. Alabama per capita was the number 2 state with putting players in the NFL. Now that's per capita, not total number.
That's
number 1 was Florida.
Per capita?
Per capita.
Oh, and then they got a huge number then because
but
they've got to. I mean, golly, it was just but I think one thing that's going to help. And Cole, you were in that world. Hugh, is high school coaches revere. They revere guys. They like Gus too, by the way. Most of them, guys that did what they did and are now at the college level. They love that. They love that, man. They really do. So Hugh's got a real opening there to build some cachet in state and help Auburn improve its in-state recruiting.
Hey, Jeffrey, real quick, one more name I want to add: Cam Coleman from Phoenix City.
Sure.
That's a guy, because the problem is you look at the top 10, top 20 guys in state, and you see Alabama littered through there. Just because they've had the upper hand, that's how it's going to go for a while.
Yep.
Cam Coleman is a guy I feel like is obtainable by Auburn, and he's at Central Phoenix City. He's a guy that likes Auburn a lot. So
big, tall, wide receiver.
Yes.
Good deal. James Moe, appreciate it, man. We do not decline, but we don't encourage the tips, man. We do appreciate it. But I will say this. We are about 100 subscribers away from hitting 5K on our YouTube channel. So if we don't want tips, we don't want the super chats, man. We just want you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's free. Hit those notifications, man, so you don't miss. We're going to have clips coming out of these shows all week long, starting next week or this week. So get subscribed, hit those notifications so you don't miss anything. James wanted to know about the 85. Jhead, you're about as good as I can. I don't know. I have no idea. How close is Auburn to the 85?
Right. I think we're right there at it as of today. Now, expect more attrition in the spring.
Sure.
Obviously, they're going to be guys that don't like their roles. They're going to be 6-year guys that choose not to come back. We saw that with Nick Brahms, unfortunately, due to injury. There are all kinds of situations that happen, but I would expect anywhere between 5 to 10 more guys probably to leave the roster post-spring. That's about right for normal attrition for a coaching staff. You've already lost 10. So that'll give you some more extra bodies to be able to add through the transfer portal or however you want to augment your roster as far as that's concerned. But I think we're right at 82 right now, maybe 83. So we're pushing the number as we speak. And to me, it's amazing to watch how they've been able to go into the transfer portal, add quantity, quality, and then also finish up the high school class the way they did and add the bodies that they did. So hats off to this staff, but we'll have more work to do post-spring. You're going to have look, this is the day and age of freedom of movement from a player standpoint. Guys are no longer hindered with where they can transfer to and when they can transfer. So you're going to have to fill those holes and gaps, and you want to play as close to the 85 as you possibly can without limiting yourself with roster structure moving forward. Because
sorry.
No, you're good, because we do want to flip that blue chip ratio on the roster. That's what you want to make sure that you give yourself a little bit of leeway there. You don't want to lock yourself into guys that can't improve your room. just to fill a number. You want to make sure that is either a 1-year guy that gives you flexibility moving forward, or he's a capable body that really increases the depth and the productivity in the rooms that you've got.
We've got some callers, but I wanted to make one point that Jeffrey and I have been making a lot, and that is the total number is not a huge concern right now. If Auburn wants somebody, they're going to go get them. It's that simple. Right. They've got enough leeway. If they need a quarterback, they're going to make it work. They're fine.
Yep. Zach, keep us going, big dog.
That is
0506. You're live. Who we talking to? Where are you calling from?
This old hog bone. How you doing?
Ohio Bob. I thought he said Ohio Bob. It's hog bone.
It's hog bone.
Hog bone.
Oh, no, it's hog bone.
Well, I thought you was a Yankee, Bob.
Oh, well, this thing now.
What's up, Hog? What you doing, big dog? What's on your mind tonight?
Hey, I got a couple of 3 points I want to make, talking points. I want to hear y'all's banter them about a little bit. But one thing is Jason Campbell, I heard him the other day on an interview, and he said that we're in the top 3 on NIL in our NIL program right now. And the way they're going about these kids, they're high-character kids for the most part, it seems like to me. And it also seems like they're able to stand by what they tell these kids, and these other programs aren't doing that. So I think that's going to be a big draw in the future. They know that we're going to stand by what we promise these kids. And I like that. There's a lot to be liked about that. The other thing is, when you talk about building the program back, you got to do it from the line.
Absolutely.
And from a former old tackle that was more of a sumo pusher than I was athletic, that used to be the way it was. But today, they need these good athletic guys that also can push. But I think that's going to be a big key to what we do. Bill Belichick used to stack them back in the practice squad, and that's how he was able to build this program back in the day. Of course, with number 12, but I think we're going to make it. I think we're going to build a real good program. It's going to be based on good qualities, and I look forward to it.
I hear you, Hog. I was going to say, Hog, look at the past 2 national champions. And if you don't think Kirby Smart got to Georgia and started building his program in the trenches, you ain't watching. And that's why I think we've been impressed with what Hugh Freeze has – I keep on calling him Hugh Null. Hugh Freeze has done in the transfer portal, which is look at the number of offensive linemen he's got right now. Look at the number of defense line, 4. He's got 3 tackles and an end. He's got 2 linebackers. His front 7. He's putting a lot of emphasis on that, as well as the offensive line. And I'm like you, Hog. It's if you don't have those trenches, you're gonna be in some ruts.
Just watch the national championship game.
No doubt about that.
Hogbone, watch that national championship game and look at the discrepancy in between the 2 teams and what Georgia was able to do at the line of scrimmage against TCU. Look, the SEC is a man's league. It's a line of scrimmage league. And Hugh Freeze came in and fixed that issue. I think he's going to be able to scheme guys open as far as his explosive plays are concerned. I think we've got some really good running backs, and we've got some skill that just needs to be developed. But that line of scrimmage is what you cannot fake that. If you don't have it, you're going to pay. And you've seen Auburn suffer from that the past 2 years at a minimum, if not even a little further going back.
Yep.
Now, the high school recruiting's got to be there. We can't just lean on the portal to fix everything for us as far as that is concerned, because that's where your top-end talent is going to come from. And then you got to be able to retain that talent. But I think Hugh Freeze is off to an incredible start. And I just wanted to say you're 100% right. Getting those big boys up front, that's where it's got to be each and every year.
Yep.
Hey,
I agree with you totally.
Good stuff, Hogbone. We appreciate you, big dog.
Basketball.
What's that?
Is it going to come a time to where we need to look at maybe another sponsorship just for basketball, like or Under Armour for the other programs and another sort of sponsorship for that? Have you heard anything about that? I'm going to let you go now.
Appreciate you, Hog.
With apparel deals, I think it's what Hogbone is talking about.
Yes. Yeah, that's right up your alley, Jhead. Because the damn sure ain't up mine.
I believe our current deal with Under Armour expires in 2025. I think you'll probably start to see renegotiation murmurs with either Under Armour or us being pursued by other apparel companies, whether that be Adidas and or Nike, Jordan Brand, what have you. That'll probably start to come out more in the next year or so. Do I think that a different apparel company would benefit Auburn from a basketball standpoint? I do. Even though I think Under Armour has done a good job of supplementing Bruce, they just don't have the grassroots campaign in the AAU circuit that those other two brands do, specifically Adidas and Nike. So I could see us making a move there to benefit the basketball program. I think football is going to be fine, whatever apparel you're wearing, as long as it's, not Lululemon or whatever. But
Coco.
There you go. But if we're three stripe or we're Nike, I think it's irrelevant. But I do think that puts you into a deeper pool of prospects, and I think that's probably the pool that Bruce would like to fish more often from.
All right. Let's keep us going, Zach. One more. Phone lines will be open for about 3 or 4 more minutes, folks. If you want to get in. 701-779-9585. Zach, keep us going, big dog.
5960. You're live. Who we talking to? Where are you calling from?
What's going on, fellas? Edwin from Selma in the house, man.
There he is. There he is.
Hey, we survived some rough storms, man. Made it through the tornado last week.
Oh, man.
Edward, I was thinking about you, big dog, when I saw that Selma got hit real hard.
Man, I sure appreciate your thoughts and prayers, man.
Yes, sir.
It's a mess down here, man.
Is it still bad?
I lost one of my best buddies, Auburn lifelong Auburn fan.
Oh my goodness!
Over the Providence County got killed in it.
Man,
it was rough, man.
Yeah. Thoughts and prayers, Edward. I'm very sorry.
You giving me hope, man. Last time I talked to you, I said I want to get to Auburn having a kick returner that every time he touched the ball, the band got a chance to play. And I'll be damned if he didn't go get me up.
He got you.
He must have been listening to my conversation.
I remember you saying that.
He
got a real chance to be a very decent team. I don't want to get too high on things right quick.
I think that's fair.
But if you look the defensive line that he was putting together, you may have one of the better defensive line in the SEC. You may have one of the better secondaries in the SEC. Any help in that passing game? We won 5 games without a passing game last year. And we could easily knock some people off that people never thought we could. I mean, Hillbilly needs to win. I'm going to win next year, and I'm going to let people see what I'm able to do. Then I'm going to go get my 4- and 5-star recruits that I need. But I got to put it out the portal to put products on the field. Look decent this year. I like what he's doing, man.
Hey, that's perfectly said.
Yes. Yeah. The SEC is so competitive, right? So it's like becoming like the NFL. So the margin for error is slim. And these games are coming down to 4 or 5 plays. And this is a perfect call. That's a great call, by the way. Because any upgrade in the return game, 5-10 yards here. Well, how hard has it been for Auburn to go 80 yards in 15 plays the last 3 seasons? Well, 68 yards is a lot easier than 80 yards as when you're trying to find your identity offensively. He's right. Little upgrades here or there, even
getting field goal range.
Yeah. I mean,
definitely. My man Kalen got one other week to score about 155, 160. I told you to come get your big buck, but you didn't come get him. So
it ain't over yet.
Man, one of the biggest deals I've ever seen in my life.
It ain't over, Edward.
It ain't over.
It might be for me though, man. I just don't have time to hunt the stupid transfer portal. God, spend my weekend sitting on the couch waiting on kids to come in and out.
Hunting 22-year-olds. That's what
Man, the way you going, man, by the time you scared to do anything, I won't miss out on something, man.
Yeah. It's about the only way I get to hunt is on my phone, just looking at deer pictures.
Man, you're gonna have to get out of that, man.
Yeah.
Y'all have a good night, and y'all keep doing what you're doing, man. It's always a pleasure to be able to get on and talk with you guys, man. And it's one damn eagle, baby.
I appreciate you, Edward. Best call of the night, big dog. Best call of the night. A lot of good stuff, man. I tell you, he wanted that returner, and he went and got the best one of the 20 in the country in 2021.
Yes, he did.
Brian, not Batty, but T.
And let's give Edward some credit for another really smart thing that he just said. Proof of concept. The best teams, the best recruiting teams are the teams that produce on the field each and every year. Now, yes, you get the benefit of the doubt in year one in any coaching staff, and you're going to be able to land some guys that you might not otherwise. But when you saw the Gus era tail off, it's because the production on the field didn't match what we were trying to sell in the recruiting game.
Yep.
Hugh Freeze in this class is going to be able to put a pretty decent product on the field, and you're going to be able to sell that proof of concept in addition to that new hope that we've all talked about. So I thought that was a really good point.
Yeah, I did too. I liked that point. I liked his returning point, and I also liked that he said we got a chance to be very, very decent.
Yeah, that was good. I like the word.
That was perfectly put. All three of those, Edward, big time, dude. That was a trifecta. Great calls. Zach, you got us one more tonight.
Yep, one last call for the night. 2842. You're live. Who we talking to? Where are you calling from?
Hmm.
2842. You're live.
You are live.
Hey, what's up?
Who we talking to?
It's Colton from Auburn.
Colton. What's up?
On your mind, Colton?
I had a couple questions. I was wondering, so we've gotten 12 transfers up to this point.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wondering, out of all 12 of those transfers, how many do y'all think are going to start? And which one do you think is going to be the most impactful?
Great question.
I appreciate y'all taking my call and everything.
Yeah, Cole, we appreciate you listening, man. That's a great question. Cole Pinkston has been addressing this on Auburn Live on 3 on our message board. Cole, you had today, or maybe it was yesterday. No, it was today, or was it last night? Either way, you had your power rankings for the 12 guys coming in. You take this one, Cole.
I'll tell you what. I'll just run through the list real quick and tell you who I think starts and who doesn't.
There you go.
We'll be specific about starting because you can talk about guys that are rotation. Let's say a guy that will be on the field when the offense or defense hits the field. I think Justin Rogers is a starter.
Yep.
I think DeMario Tolan is a starter. I think Avery Jones is a starter.
Yep.
I think I'm not going to say Austin Keys yet. I think he probably heavy rotation.
So you got DeMario over Austin.
Yeah, I do.
Really?
I do. I think that he was starting to break in at LSU with guys like Harold Perkins running around there.
Sure.
So that tells me what I need to know.
Was he Perkins' backup?
He was right there with him, and he played a lot towards the end of the year. He had 4 tackles against Ole Miss, and that big win that they had there where they rushed the field and everything. So
okay.
Mosiah Nasili-Kite, I don't think he starts.
I actually do, but go ahead. I'll give you my list if you get done.
Okay. I don't think Lawrence Johnson starts. I don't think Brian Batiste starts. I think Rivaldo Fairweather starts in some capacity.
Mm-hmm.
Dylan Wade, yes. Gunnar Britton, yes. Nick Mardner, no.
Okay. I think that's fair. Jhead?
I've got Justin Rogers, Avery Jones, Nick Mardner, because I do think he'll start at the X over Camden. Now, that's partially due to the relationship with Marcus Davis, familiarity with the offense, or how to be used.
Watch your mouth.
Hey, look, I think CB is going to play, and he's going to play a lot. I just think Mardner might start out as
That's fair.
starter.
That's fair.
CB, man, every time Every time I'm at the complex, Jeffrey, I see CB in there getting to work, man.
I am telling you. Masili Kite, I've got him starting in that 4-eye position because I think you're going to start 2 4-eyes and a 3-man front. So I think he's going to be your other one. Gunnar Britton, Dylan Wade, Rivaldo Fairweather, and I'm leaning Elijah McAllister at this point because I just don't know what else you've got in that room right now. That one's going to be, let me see what they look like in spring with Dylan Brooks and a handful of other guys.
Right.
I've got Brian Batty starting
as a kick returner.
A kick returner, yes.
I like it.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, as far as all those starting, it doesn't really matter to me, Colton. I would say all 3 of those defensive tackles are in the absolutely rotation.
Yeah.
They're playing, they're contributing. All of those guys. It'd be easier for me to say this is the guy I don't see contributing this year, and I couldn't find any of them.
No, they all.
I think they're all going to, or else they wouldn't have been targeted by Auburn. These are guys that are being brought in to help immediately.
Every one of them too deep.
These are the team builders. These aren't your program builders yet. These are to get you to that third class. I might have been Edward to say he wants to put a product on the field this year that he can sell to these. Or somebody said that earlier.
That's what he said.
That he can sell to the 4 and 5 star guys in the 2024, 2025 classes. So,
there is a possibility of a set. Let's just say a 4 receiver set where you have 6'6" Rivaldo Fairweather, 6'6" Nick Martiner, 6'5" Landon King, 6'3", 220-pound Camden Brown. That could be a set for Auburn.
Is Camden only 6'3"?
Yeah. 6'2", 6'3".
Okay. He just towers over everybody.
That's my listen. If I'm going to a 4 wide set and I'm in the red zone, that's what I've got on the field.
Sure. Yeah. Pick your poison.
Let's see. Trey Mack, here's a good discussion. Trey Mack wants to know, where do you guys think this overall staff ranks in the SEC? It's a tough one for me, Trey Mack, because I'm just not well versed on other staffs. So I don't really know, and I don't know the criteria by which you would rank them. Like, because Auburn's got a lot of inexperienced SEC guys when it comes to the SEC, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you've got you got Jake Thornton, 29 years old. You got Aldridge. His experience comes from Liberty, West Georgia.
Mm-hmm. So he's been, and look, just because they're coming from a different level of football doesn't mean they don't know ball and doesn't mean that they can't recruit. I think quite differently,
right?
But like,
so what's our criteria here? Is it resumes?
Yeah, is it experience in the league? How are you judging it?
If you think about it, being at a smaller school and having to recruit and get players consistently without the big facility at Auburn, without all the things that you have to help you out at Auburn, it's kind of a testament to your ability to recruit, is it not?
I would.
You're going to have to get after it a little bit more, probably.
It is, but you're always recruiting against schools of similar facility, similar. You know what I mean? You're always recruiting against people. I mean, it looks like a staff that's got a little bit of everything. I'll say that.
Mm-hmm.
Youth, experience, age, wisdom, redemption stories. Redemption stories. Jeremy Garrett, the defensive line coach, hell of a story. Was a high school coach, got picked up by Vanderbilt. Next thing you know, he's an assistant D-line coach in the NFL. It's a unique. You got Wesley McGriff, who's worked this 3rd time at Auburn. Each guy's got kind of an interesting story. Jake Thornton. I mean, to be that young, 29 years old as an O-line coach, we're used to seeing guys. You know what we're all used to seeing? Older O-line coaches. Those are often your oldest guy on the staff, right? Not always, but a lot of them. The grizzled O-line veteran, Rick Trickett, former Auburn.
It takes so much to coach offensive line. You have so many guys.
JB Grimes, because it's considered a position where the coach is supposed to be a guy that emanates wisdom, right? The O-line coach.
Yes.
And this guy's 20. Jake Thornton's 29. It says a lot about him. Marcus Davis, 28, a comer, an up and comer. You know what I mean? So it's got a little bit of everything.
And I would tell you this, and I think it was a really smart play with the new rule that the transformation committee is ready to rubber stamp with regard to analysts being able to coach on the field at practice. You are seeing a transition in getting younger coaches in recruiting roles on the field and having older analysts that can supplement these guys so that you're not losing that wisdom and experience. You've got them there. They're there to help coach up and develop. And you can put these younger cats on the trail and let them cut their teeth. Guys that, you know what I mean, are ready and eager to earn it and grind out wins on the trail. You're going to see that more and more. I think Freeze did a fantastic job of being ahead of the curve. Maybe he knew this was coming. Maybe he didn't. But you're going to start to see a lot more analysts get hired. And look, you've got Kendall Simmons in that room who's bringing pro experience, knows how to coach last year with the offensive line when Will Friend moved to the OC position. You've got Joe Bernardi also in that room, a lot of experience. You're going to see a big, heavy analyst staff that can help coach these guys up and these younger, hungry guys, you know what I mean, out in recruiting with some guys like Wes McGriff that can gel and speak to multiple people in the recruitment of all ages. So I think it's a great combination. Keith, you hit that point before, having guys that can mix it up and speak to various ranges. But it's important to have young guys on the staff that can bond, that can relate, that are willing to get out there and really grind and make their name.
I'll say
tell you
one more
another
thing on this.
Well, Keith, I was going to say something you've said before. It resonated with me. Thought it was a great point. It's amazing how these coordinators and these coaches get so much better when they have better talent. You know what I mean? And I think that's what you said. It's amazing how much better their coaching becomes when they have better talent.
Yeah, that's not to diminish the value of coaching, but one other point on the current staff, we'll find out where they stack up in the SEC about next December, first week of next December. Who comes after these guys? Marcus Davis is 28.
Yeah.
Rocket ship to the moon. Jake Thornton.
Yeah.
Okay. Who comes after these guys? Your OC, your DC. Does Philip Montgomery do something so special that he then becomes a hot commodity in a couple of years to be a head coach again? Is Ron Roberts the brilliant defensive mind that people say he is? Does that mean the NFL comes after? We'll learn a lot about these guys. It's actually a good thing in a sense when you're losing guys every year to bigger and better things. It says that you're identifying real talent at the coaching positions, and that's not a bad thing.
Right.
We've got some questions we want to get to before we wrap this up, man. We're going to hit a lightning round real quick. I'll ask the question, maybe go to one guy. We'll get an answer and keep rolling. DMAC 10. This is a pretty tough one, though. I don't know. This will be the last before the lightning round. Any predictions on guys that will transfer out after the spring? That's above my pay grade, dude. I wouldn't do that to him even if I knew.
Right.
I mean, hold on. Here you go. TJ Finley.
Yeah.
That's all.
I'll join you on that.
That's all I got. DMAC. We'll see how it shakes out, though. All right, here we go. Lightning round. Scott Vickery, excuse me, Scott. What's the latest on Howard from LSU, Keith?
Oh, you give me the hard one. We know he visited Ole Miss, right? We know that the rumor has been that TCU was the main school to watch. Beyond that, we don't know much. We know Florida's interested. We think Auburn's had interest, but I just wish people understood. We give you guys so much recruiting intel throughout the course of the year that, trust me, when we come up thin on something, that means there ain't much out there because we're working the phones, we're working every source we have. There's just not a lot available on transfer quarterbacks right now. It's hard. When we get some more info, we'll know. But I would say Ole Miss and TCU are the two that we know for sure to watch.
Yep. Kelsey Gardner wants to know, has Aaron Nolan been offered by the staff? Aaron Nolan being a 2024 quarterback from Langston Hughes. I'll take this one, not to my knowledge, Cole.
No, I think there's a lot more effort on Walker White.
Yep, I agree. Walker White from Little Rock Christian in Arkansas. That seems to be Hugh Freeze's number one guy. Eric Randall, any news on portal quarterback? We hit this a little bit. No, nothing right now. Like he said, the Walker Howard kid, there was some buzz that he might visit Auburn today from a couple of people. And that, to my knowledge, that didn't happen. That doesn't mean he didn't visit, and we just don't know about it because that is absolutely a possibility. But as of right now, I don't have anything on a portal QB. If anybody else does. Sean Feely. My bad, Sean. Who is our special teams coach? That would be Austin
Tanner Burns from Liberty.
Oh, yeah. Tanner Burns. Met him. Yeah, Tanner Burns from Liberty. Yeah. I think some of these pickups will improve our kickoff return. Absolutely. And coverage been lacking in the last few years. Hey, Edward agrees with you too, man. James, guys, do you think we get anyone else before the deadline on the 18th?
Maybe.
I agree. I don't know who. I mean, Nick Jackson, the transfer linebacker, visited from Virginia Friday, but he's not going to make his decision. Or he's not going to transfer until after May. He would be the only guy I know that's visited who hasn't made a decision. Damian George is another guy. All right, Michael.
I got two names I'm watching.
Okay.
Tresman Marshall to see if he
Oh,
visits.
yeah. Yep.
And Malik McLean from Florida State.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Marcus Davis relationship there. Those are two guys that I'm watching to see if they visit.
Keith, this was directed towards you. You posted a thread about a quarterback coming in after spring, being in fine shape to learn the scheme and stuff. Can you elaborate?
Well, I wasn't saying specifically I don't know of a name or anything like that. I'm saying it's a veteran quarterback. I mean, don't forget, Michael, Nick Marshall did not arrive at Auburn until the summer of 2013, right? Right? Correct, Jhead and Cole and Jeffrey? Yeah. So a veteran guy, and he wasn't even really a veteran. He was coming from the junior colleges, and then before that, obviously played defensive back at Georgia. But a veteran quarterback, the thought process is that it's going to be a smart guy. He's going to understand offenses. Most of these schools kind of run similar offenses these days. What he will have to learn is the terminology. What's the name of the play? Some guys pick that up faster than others, but Jhead, you may want to elaborate on that, but I think
I don't think it's so much scheme it is the connectivity and the bonding with your offensive line and your wide receivers. That's the biggest part to me, is learning them, getting a feel for you of where you're going to be on the field and how to protect your blind side. And then also in the passing game, getting that rhythm and efficiency there. That's what you're missing more than anything. It's just those reps. It's not the scheme. You're right, Keith. I think these guys are smart. They can pick it up. It's not going to be an issue, but getting that verbiage, being able to mentally process that quick, relay your checks, all the things that go into that. That's the tough part as far as that's concerned, not the concepts.
Yep. Hey, M. Jones wants to know, can Auburn be the next season's TCU? No, and I'll tell you why. Auburn will not lose by 59 points to Georgia.
Also, the schedule.
Jeez.
MB Mitch, does this transfer portal class begin to show how Brother Hugh's offense will play?
Not really.
I wouldn't read that too much. Keith, you got a little shaky there?
Maybe. I mean, I don't quite understand the question.
I hear you.
It's going to depend on.
Here's a better one from MJ. Who's the guy nobody is talking about that will be a breakout star on the roster right now?
Whew.
Austin Osbury.
Austin Osbury, Cole.
I'm going
to say Cam Riley.
Okay.
That's the only one I couldn't think. That's the only one I could think.
Jhead, while you're thinking, I'll say Landon King and or Camden Brown. He loves big receivers. We know that. AJ Brown.
You're gonna make me look bad now. I'm thinking Camden Brown.
Metcalf. No, that's your guy. So we know what he loves to do with big receivers, but also we've mentioned this before with Rivaldo Fairweather, the tight end. But Landon King has already been told by the staff, by Hugh Freeze, look what I did with Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram, another big game for the Jacksonville Jaguars last night. Similar size tight end. So those would be my two guys to watch.
Okay, good stuff.
Let me add one on offense. Amari Kelly.
Okay.
Austin Osbury, Amari Kelly.
JD Rim. I like that, Jhead. I like that.
JD Rim. I really loved him in that Mississippi State game. I think contingent on what they do at the nickel, you could see him flourish at the boundary corner position.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of, you brought this name up. Clayton Kennedy wants to know any updates on the UGA transfers. Tresman Marshall being one of those guys. Clayton, we're waiting to see if any of those guys visit. They have not, to our knowledge, at least to this point. So we'll see if anything materializes there. Alan Brooks wants to know, anybody think TJ could play a different position? I don't.
And I don't think he wants to. I think TJ sees himself as a quarterback. I think he wants to be developed as a quarterback. And good for the kid.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Hey, great show, folks, man. We really appreciate everybody tuning in. We appreciate everybody listening. If you haven't subscribed to Auburn Live on 3, go check us out, man. It's like $8 a month. It's well worth it. We are there giving daily updates, and we will continue to with the transfer portal. Want to appreciate everybody calling in tonight. My man from Shelbyville, Tennessee, Bob from Houston, Bryce from Beulah, and Hogbone. Edward, my man, what a great call. Colton.
Yes.
Also, let's don't forget, man, I know you guys are moving in and around Auburn, Opelika area. And if you are, give Jessica Andrews a call with eXp Realty, 334-704-4442. Residential investment property. She can do it all. Selling in or around Auburn, Opelika, Lee County. Give Jessica Andrews a call, 334-704-4442. Tell her we sent you, man. Again, if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, man, we're that close from 5K, man. We really appreciate it. That's all we want. It's free, man. Hit those notifications. And we'll be back. Keith and I will be back in the morning with Inside the 20. We all will be back Friday for an extended recruiting show, and then we'll be back, of course, next week. Y'all, hope everybody joins us, man. We really appreciate everybody. For Cole, for Jhead, for Keith, for Zach in the back, I'm Jeffrey Lee, man. Y'all stay out of the left lane. See ya.